The James Show Podcast.
James Talarico is challenging Jasmine Crockett in the Democrat primary for Senate to be the next senator from Texas for John Cornyn's seat. Now, James Talarico went up to the Colbert Show, was recording an interview. Now, the lawyers for CBS had gotten a notice, just like the rest of us did, and by us, I mean broadcasters, that the FCC was no longer going to give people a pass on equal time provisions during an election with the excuse of, no, we're just a comedy show. Because the equal time provision says while the election is happening, and early voting started this week, while the election is happening within like a certain amount of days from election day, which is just March 3rd, it's just like 2 weeks away. Not even that. If you have someone on from one side, you have to have, or at least offer the same amount of time to their opponents. And this was written at a time when there was only 3 stations in the country. And with that level of power, you could pretty much control the electoral process by giving free promotion to the candidates you supported and ignoring the ones that you didn't like. And name recognition, everything in a Democrat process. And so that's the rule that a lot of us have lived under. Here in talk radio, we've lived under that. Well, Colbert's got a pass in the past because, hey, I'm just a comedy show. I'm not a real news program. I'm not a real commentator program. No one takes me serious. We're just out here telling jokes. And the FCC told them, and other shows that used to get a pass, like The View, they noticed that, hey, since 2022, according to Newsbusters, Stephen Colbert has had on 174 Democrat guests and only 1 Republican guest. And that 1 Republican guest was Liz Cheney after she had already participated in the impeachment of Trump, the Russia probe, and turned into just a fervent foaming at the mouth anti-Trumper. She was a never Trumper. That's the only Republican you've had on since 2022. That doesn't sound right. Doesn't sound like you're just some objective comedy program. Sounds like you definitely have a political agenda here. And we're not asking you to even have Republicans on. But if you're going to have Talarico on, and right now we're voting on him versus Jasmine Crockett versus some other person that you and I have never heard of, to be honest. But the lawyers told the Colbert Show that, listen, if you air this, then you're going to have to offer the same amount of time to Jasmine Crockett and whoever else. So this is how they presented it. They said, we're not going to air it. Instead of offering the equal time, we're just going to have Talarico on, and we're only going to put it on YouTube. Because if it doesn't go out over the air, then it's not subjected to the FCC equal time provisions. So when they had Talarico on the YouTube only segment, this is how they explained it. And this is where they're going to get in trouble, because I'm not sure if this is exactly the way things went down.
Now, here's the thing. I don't usually say this to a guest, but if people are watching this right now, it's because they found us online on YouTube. I did an act of the show that's on tonight explaining why. It's not the first time you've caused some drama. FCC opening probe into The View after appearance by Talarico. Do you mean to cause trouble?
I think that Donald Trump is worried that we're about to flip Texas. And Stephen, this is the party that ran against cancel culture, and now they're trying to control what we watch, what we say, what we read, and this is the most dangerous kind of cancel culture, the kind that comes from the top.
Wait, you got to hear more of this.
They went after The View because I went on there. They went after Jimmy Kimmel for telling a joke they didn't like. They went after you for telling the truth about Paramount's bribe to Donald Trump. Corporate media executives are selling out the First Amendment to curry favor with corrupt politicians. And a threat to any of our First Amendment rights is a threat to all of our First Amendment rights.
Okay, so that's the narrative. Trump threatened them, forbid them from putting it on the air. And so that built this new online storyline that's just absolute fantasy. I'll give you a couple examples here. Because now what a bunch of people did is turn around and say, oh, my goodness, Trump is shutting down free speech. He must be scared of Talarico. That's it. We're doing so awesome.
Last night, Trump's administration censored an interview that Stephen Colbert gave to Senate candidate in Texas, James Talarico. I'm from Texas, and I've known James.
Yeah. Here's another one online. The myth that Trump censored Talarico.
I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. This should piss you off. It wouldn't be Republicans unless there was a serious layer of hypocrisy here, which of course there always is. Which, don't you guys remember when you were so mad about Charlie Kirk? Because that was an attack on freedom of speech. And Charlie Kirk stood for freedom of speech. That's all he stood for. And yet at the same time, you will stand 10 toes down for a president that is eroding our freedom of speech and the freedom of press in our Constitution. Anyway, we all know that this is happening because Trump is scared, because James Talarico is very likely going to flip Texas blue for the first time in God knows how long.
Only problem is that's not true. Number one, what a weird comparison. No one shot James Talarico in the neck and he died in front of all of our faces. We just said that you're going to have to interview Jasmine Crockett at the same time. Kind of a stretch of a comparison there. But the truth is actually coming from, it feels so good to say it, Jasmine Crockett. Oh, no, I'm on Jasmine Crockett's side. Jasmine Crockett got the truth. The government did not stop Colbert and Talarico from airing their interview. They just said, if you do that, you're going to have to air equal time to Jasmine. And instead of giving the young black woman a voice, they decided they would rather silence her and just put it on YouTube than give her a voice. Jasmine?
We did receive information suggesting that the federal government did not shut down this segment. Number one, that is my understanding, that the federal government didn't shut this down.
And then she clarified her comments later. She was on Jen Psaki's show last night.
Late Show decided that this was the option, and I think that it was a good strategy. I mean, look at what happened when they tried to censor CCOT. We found out that you could get a lot more views, so I think it probably gave my opponent the boost he was looking for.
Yeah, she said, of course, it worked. They got extra promotion. They didn't have to interview Jasmine Crockett and air the other side. And isn't that weird? Because Jasmine Crockett's been on Colbert before. It's not like there's any sort of personal animus there. It's just the machine doesn't like Jasmine Crockett. Now, that this has gone back and forth, another show was had last night where Colbert responds to this new storyline that he lied when he said Donald Trump spiked the interview and threatened them. He didn't talk to Donald Trump. The lawyers didn't talk to Donald Trump. Donald Trump didn't get on the phone and call him at all. They were just aware of the equal time provisions that were going to be enforced this election season. And they told him, you can do this. You'll just have to give equal time to the two challengers and not CBS, but the Late Show themselves decided to spike it. I'll also play for you some of the parts of the interview that not a lot of people are talking about that I know you'd be interested in. First, we go to Ken in Arlington. You're on WBAP. Hey, Ken.
Hey, I got a question on this Guthrie thing. Is it just me, or does it seem like there's no evidence pointing anywhere else outside that house, that neighborhood?
So there has to be, I mean, I hope to God, Ken in Arlington, that there's evidence they're not telling us about now, because I'm with you. It looks like they've got bupkis. Looks like they've got a big handful of jack squat, and that can't be true. I just refuse to believe that we're 3 weeks into this almost. And this is what all the professionals have come up with. This is, the team of experts. This is what we got: the FBI. We got helicopters with scanners. We got databases being data mined. We're able to come up with all this, and we don't have any. We don't even have a suspect 18 days later. I agree. I find that hard to believe, Ken.
Oh yeah, because there's no evidence saying, okay, hey, she was spotted at the Circle K or whatever convenience stores they have over there in Arizona, and outside of that house or neighborhood. I mean, it was almost like, I hate to say it, a UFO came down and got her, because there's nothing.
Well, see, that lends credence.
Unless they have it.
Right, but that lends credence to the theory that it's professionals. If we have nothing, then it's probably not a bumbling amateur if they're able to thwart and get past. This is the dragnet that got Brian Kohberger. This is the dragnet that seems to wrap these cases up within a matter of days. And here we are almost 3 weeks into it. So I guess we're running out of rational explanations. This is either she's not out there or somebody's really good. And we just don't know. Thank you. That's Ken in Arlington. All right, now back to this Colbert situation. If you're just joining us, Stephen Colbert, host of The Late Show, interviewed James Talarico, who right now in early voting is running it in the primary against Jasmine Crockett and some other person that no one's ever heard of, to be the Democrat nominee for John Cornyn's election coming up next year. I'm sorry, next fall. CBS lawyers say that they told Colbert that if you air this interview, then you're going to have to offer equal time to the challengers, which would be Jasmine Crockett and some other person. Whether they take it up is up to them. Colbert says they were forbidden from airing the interview. In fact, this is what he said actually on the air, not the part that he just put on YouTube with Talarico, but the part that actually went on air 2 days ago. This was his excuse.
You know who is not one of my guests tonight? That's Texas State Representative James Talarico. He was supposed to be here, but we were told in no uncertain terms by our network's lawyers, who called us directly, that we could not have him on the broadcast. Because my network clearly doesn't want us to talk about this, let's talk about this.
See that? He said the lawyers told him he could not have him on the broadcast. Now, in a written statement, so there's no one from CBS reading this, and I can't play you the audio of them reading it, but the network released in a statement that they just made Colbert aware of the equal time provision, and he's the one who chose. So then yesterday, Colbert had to respond to that on his show.
So we obeyed our network and put the interview on YouTube, where it's gotten millions of views. And I can see why. Talarico is an interesting guy. I don't know if he should be the senator, but it was a good discussion. I wish we could have put it on the show.
You could
where
have.
No one would have watched it. But here's where I do want to tell the lawyers how to do their jobs. They know damn well that every word of my script last night was approved by CBS's lawyers, who, for the record, approve every script that goes on the air, whether it's about equal time or this image of frogs having sex. That's a true story, but for another time. Very specifically, and this is never, in fact, between the monologue I did last night and before I did the second act talking about this issue, I had to go backstage. I got called backstage to get more notes from these lawyers, something that had never, ever happened before. And they told us the language they wanted me to use to describe that equal time exception. And I used that language. So I don't know what this is about.
So somebody's lying. Either Talarico and Colbert are lying, because they are both saying the same story. Talarico is putting right now on, or yesterday on X, this is the interview Donald Trump didn't want you to see. His FCC refused to air my interview with Stephen Colbert. Trump is worried we're about to flip Texas. That's the hoax. That's the myth. That's the narrative. But Jasmine Crockett says no. The FCC didn't refuse to air the interview. They just said that if you're going to air that, you'll have to give Jasmine Crockett an interview as well. And in order to not give Jasmine Crockett equal time, they made the decision to not air the interview. So who's lying? Stephen Colbert and James Talarico, or Jasmine Crockett? Whose side are you on? I got to tell you, I think I'm on Jasmine Crockett's side on this one. I know. Stranger things have happened. But over here, there's actually some good comments on this. Yeah, Drunken Tweets over here. I love this guy because he retweets me quite a bit. Even though he disagrees with me like every show, I still like him. It says, equal time is BS. Republicans is abolished in the Fairness Doctrine Act back in the 80s. Besides, do you want people to tell you who to interview and who not to interview? No, actually, I don't like the equal time provision. Precisely because the government should be intervening and telling you who you should and shouldn't interview. However, if we are going to have the equal time provisions like that, that's the law of the land. So let's go ahead and enforce it. I mean, that explains one side of the argument. Someone's still lying, though. Someone is still lying. And the Drunken Tweets followed up. And why Republicans are supporting Jasmine Crockett all of a sudden? Well, we're not supporting her policies. I'm not supporting the way she prefers to govern. But in this case, she is getting screwed. And this makes me kind of like her. Because when you see the corporate overlords and the puppet masters, look, when George Carlin says there's a big club and you ain't in it, well, CBS is in it. Stephen Colbert is in it. All those lawyers that are making those decisions, they're in the club. We're not. And their chosen candidate is Talarico. He's not winning. He's not the one that's most likely to win. He's the one they want. They don't want Jasmine Crockett. This is the same thing they did to Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders was the one who was polling number one. Bernie Sanders was the one that was ahead. But the establishment, the club with a capital C, didn't like him. So they stole the election from him in 2016 in the primaries. They did it again in 2020. And finally, they give him 4 houses that are all worth millions of dollars, tell him to shut up. He finally shut up. But if Jasmine Crockett's not in the club, that makes me like her more. I mean, I don't like her policies any more than James Talarico, but that makes me, I prefer that she wins over this guy. If we do have to have a Democrat that comes out of Texas, I hope it's not one in the club. Damn it, I'm siding with Jasmine Crockett on something. What the heck is going on? You have people that are saying, see, I told you he was a fascist. I told you he's censoring free speech. This is so scary. But I think what the rest of us see is the establishment likes Talarico better than Jasmine. This is what they did to Bernie Sanders. They didn't actually steal the election from him in the fact that they said, we're not going to let you run. We're not going to let people vote for you. They just stole the election from him by giving all kinds of good press to Hillary, no good press to him, when he still got more votes than Hillary in the primaries. All the superdelegates went and the establishment propped up Hillary, thwarting the will of their own voters. And the will of the voters, the Team Blue Democrat voters in Texas right now, want Jasmine Crockett. Stephen Colbert and the machine, the club, doesn't like Jasmine Crockett. That should make you support her in this endeavor. She's not so bad, right? But according to Newsbusters, since 2022, Colbert has had 174 left-leaning guests, only one Republican guest, and that was Liz Cheney, who is decidedly anti-Trump. Now, what's in this actual interview that's so damn important that we have to lie our pants off about it? Well, one of the first things that Colbert and Talarico went into is the fact that he's in seminary. His dad's a preacher, and he's kind of Jesus-y, which is not the norm for our leftist friends. Remember, this is how they normally talk about Christians.
White evangelical Christianity is a cancer. These are the worst people in our country because they use their religion in 2 ways, as a weapon and as a shield.
Yeah, so when you're seen as the political adversary, Christianity's evil. In fact, here's Colbert calling it Christo-fascist, Project 2025.
Project 2025 is an obvious and chilling blueprint for a Christo-fascist future.
Does he even have a word for Islamofascism? Has he ever said the word Islamofascism? Because they're actually fascists, when they make your daughter wear a headscarf and you can't insult certain prophets. But let's go to the actual interview itself. And here they are. Now they're trying to use Jesus against you.
Jesus in Matthew 25 tells us exactly how you and I and every one of our fellow believers, how we're going to be judged and how we're going to be saved. By feeding the hungry, by healing the sick, by welcoming the stranger. Nothing about going to church, nothing about voting Republican. It was all about how you treat other people. Don't.
I find this so sick. They're trying to exploit the Christian charity drive and use it against you. Go to Matthew 25 and read it for yourself. Does Jesus talk about starting a government program? Does Jesus talk about, hey, do you see a poor person? Go get the Romans to tax some rich people. They'll run it through Rome. They'll start a program and we'll feed them through some sort of subsidy. Did he ever say that? When the Good Samaritan found the guy that was beaten and bloodied by the robbers on the side of the road, did he say, hang on, I'm going to go get some politicians to pass a law that forces you to buy insurance? Or did he help him? These people are lying to your face about what your own religion says. And some people are dumb enough to believe it. Some people their politics has replaced the place in their life that should be filled by religion. But here they are with their Jesus talk. Yes, this is whatever we said Jesus wants. No, you're using Jesus' name in vain. You're using Jesus and exploiting our love, our faith, our heritage, our religion against us for what? Political purposes? That's pretty sick. Here they are with the love thy neighbor stuff.
Exception to that second commandment. Love thy neighbor regardless of race or gender or sexual orientation or immigration status or religious affiliation.
However, if your dad voted for Trump, don't go home for Christmas. Yes, love the neighbor. Love the Somalian that's coming over here, raping your daughters, robbing the taxpayers, lying to your face. But if your own father doesn't share the full woke Bible. Don't go home for Christmas. These is this the same people? And then here we are, because my next story is about the Islam creeping into public schools in Wiley. Here they are. Look, back to back. Here they are with the separation of church and state garbage again.
And so this separation between church and state is something we have to safeguard. It's something we have to fight for. And I think we need someone in the U.S. Senate who is going to confront Christian nationalism and say and tell the truth, which is that.
Yeah, look out for those Christian nationalists. Yeah, we're trying to do the Lord's Supper during lunchtime at Wiley East, aren't we? Oh, no, we're not. No, I'm sorry. No, we're just sneaking into the school campus and passing out Bibles without the administration knowing, right? Isn't that what we're doing? Oh, no, that's not what we're doing. Oh, yeah, but we're building exclusive enclaves, entire cities where we only allow Christians and Christian law to supersede the will of the separation of church and state. Where you at on Wiley? Someone ask him about that. Where I'm sitting right now, I'm in Jasmine Crockett's congressional district. She is trying to make the big leap from Congress to Senate. And she's in the primary right now. Early voting started this week. And her main challenger for the Democrat nomination to run for John Cornyn's Senate seat in the fall, James Talarico. James Talarico was interviewed by Stephen Colbert. And now we have someone's lying here. Talarico and Colbert say that they did the interview and then the CBS lawyers spiked it and told them they couldn't put it on the air and they could only put it online. Jasmine Crockett and CBS say no. They said you can put, if you put this on the air, then you have to give equal time to the other two candidates, Jasmine Crockett and some person that you and I have never heard of before. So someone's lying. Now there's a big fuss over this, and rightfully so, because someone is lying, and that kind of makes it dastardly. If Talarico's the best candidate, why you got to lie about it? If he's better than Jasmine Crockett, why are you scared to interview Jasmine Crockett or whoever this third person is? So something's not right. And it kind of sniffs that it looks like Talarico's the chosen person for the club, because Jasmine Crockett had talked before. And again, people kind of missed the point of this one because she made a white boy reference. But she already told you that she's not in the club. She already told you that there was a meeting, there was a conference call where they were picking the next guy, and it wasn't going to be her. It was going to be some white boy. Do y'all remember that clip? Because I thought that was kind of telling. And that was sort of your first guess that, you know what, there is a club, and as successful as she's been, you would think maybe she's in it, but I don't think she is. And this is another good sign of that, because she was talking about Gavin Newsom, we assume, on that one when she's doing the white boy comment. But here it is again. Well, here, let me play that old comment first. This is from... It
is this fear that the people within the party, within the primary system, will have about voting for a woman, because every time we voted for a woman, we've lost so far. And I think that that's a natural fear, because we just want to win. So there's a lot of people that are like, you know what? Like, let's go find the safest white boy we can find. I mean, I'm just saying.
Those are the callers that we're hearing. We're hearing people...
No, for real.
A white man's got to do it. We're getting those callers.
For real. And to be clear, when we talk about them, I can tell you that there is one specific candidate. I had a donor on the phones with me telling me that all the donors are lining up behind that candidate.
They're lining up behind Newsom, just to cut it short there. So now the establishment is lining up behind Talarico. The establishment doesn't like Jasmine Crockett. I should make you cheer for her just a little bit. Now, back in this interview, some of this stuff should rub you the wrong way if you're a Christian, because he is now, you know, people who proclaim their Christianity in public circles, oh, they're a theocrat or the religious right or, you know, party and country or whatever, Christo-fascist, white nationalist, Christian nationalist. However, when a Democrat is a Christian, it's a good thing and it's celebrated and it informs them. And they can still talk about separation of church and state while talking about church and state and get away with it. But check out this last little part here.
And that's the key, is you don't want to fit the big thing into the small thing. And God is the biggest thing there is. And so to try to fit God into a political party, whether it's the Republican Party or the Democratic Party, you've got it reversed. And so it's why I think we have to remember to put those big things first, to put the love of God and the love for our neighbors before anything else. Because right now, what you've got is people baptizing their partisanship and calling that Christianity, when in reality, your politics should grow out of your faith, not the other way around.
Now,
what are y'all cheering for? Hang on a second. You shouldn't let politics dictate your faith. Who's painting the steps of their church in the rainbow flag? Who is the one that is changing their church to fit their modern day political bent? It ain't the right wingers. It ain't the right wing churches. Isn't that crazy? That's exactly what they do. When they have, like, go over there to the United Methodist Church of wherever, Oaklawn, or at Oaklawn and Cedar Springs. Are there churches that are painting big MAGA hats on their steps? Are there churches that are painting obvious political slogans? Who's doing that? Who is intersecting their church and their politics like this? Who runs for president as a reverend? Who calls themselves reverend? Who just died yesterday that was cloaking all of his political activism as a reverend? Reverend Jesse Jackson, Reverend Al Sharpton, Reverend Jeremiah Wright. Oh yeah, there's no politics in those guys. That's for sure. It's just so crazy to see that your religion should come first before your politics. That's what we do. I don't know. People see that and they see the exact opposite thing, and that kind of blows my mind. But they don't want to have this discussion. They're probably right to hide that, because this whole separation of church and state, I'm about to replay that again on my next segment, because they just had the meeting yesterday in Wiley about the Islamification that's going on there, where they had the Why Islam table set up a couple weeks ago. They have halal options on the school menu there. Where's your separation of church and state about that? Talarico-Colbert. Kaylee Campbell was at the meeting yesterday, and she'll be on the show coming up in 4 minutes. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. The next Parker Pour is tomorrow. I'm going to go be down at the Whiskey and Rye Bar at the Omni Fort Worth Hotel. I'm doing a live show from 2 to 5, and then afterwards we're going to hang out for a happy hour. We're doing 2 rounds of trivia. I'm hosting 1 round at 5:30, another round of trivia at 6:30. If you can make both, cool. There'll be a grand prize. If you can only make one, there will be a separate prize for both rounds. I'll tell you about the prizes tomorrow. But come on out, hang out, have a good time. It shouldn't be as crowded as the last time, because there's not a special event across the street at the Fort Worth Convention Center. But the next Parker's Pour, I'll be there from 2 to 7 tomorrow. Come out and see the show live if you can. If not, come out after work. It'll be a good time. You can shake my hand, take a picture, judge me based on my appearance. Omni Fort Worth Hotel, Whiskey and Rye Bar.
The James Show Podcast.